Right, we learn about the requirements, and then we design what we think we understand the requirements are, and then someone builds it, and then we do the systems integration testing, and then we do the user acceptance testing, and then it gets deployed, and then someone's there to take care of it and debug and do all those kind of things, right? And these things happen, at least theoretically, according to plan in big chunks, right? Yes? Is that the way it really happens? I mean, even before you started on DevOps journey, was that the way it really happened? That's the way it was planned, but is that the way it really happened? Oh, guys, come on. The real thing looks more like that, right? Okay, we get requirements, but we don't get all of the requirements, but we know we need to start, so we get started, because we have to get started. And so everything sort of gets broken up, and we try to hold the batches as we can, but we still need to try to keep moving. We end up having lots of rework. We end up going back and cycling and cycling. Hello. There's lunch too. Okay, great. And so this is what it ends up looking like. But what's really been slowing the flow that Agile picked up on first and DevOps is taking into the next realm. And actually, if you look back at manufacturing world, Toyota Production System got it first. Maybe even Ford got it first. Toyota Production System followed suit. A lot of stuff that you've heard about in theory of constraints. Everybody's trying to attack the batches because we know that the smaller you can make what I'll call process batches, the faster the whole thing can flow. So the big batches in design and integration and every step along the way ends up slowing down the whole thing. Maybe in a subsequent group like this, we can do the batching game. We'll need a different kind of setup. We'll need some tables and stuff, but it's, and you can do it amongst yourselves too. Start with like 10 pennies or 10 pieces of paper and get 3 or 4 or 5 people lined up in a row. Start the timer at the first one and then just, flip them over. Do something that simulates work. And the next person in the line isn't allowed to touch one until the whole batch of 10 gets to them. Okay? And so make the big batch go down the line and time how long it takes to get the last one to the end of however long you set up your line. Then just cut it in half and say, all right, instead of one batch of 10, we'll do 2 batches of 5. See how much total time you eliminate, and then see how fast the first batch gets to the end of the line. And then try it with 5 batches of 2. You will be amazed not only at how fast the first batch gets to the end of the line, but how much total time you save, how fast it takes for the last one to get to the end of the line as well. And then you'll come back and you'll tell Stone and our other colleagues who will do this more often than what you saw. Yes?
With that analogy you just gave us, I thought of just-in-time manufacturing, and I thought Peter, and then I thought, does JIT have any relationship to DevOps? And I actually don't really answer that. If there is a similar concept to JIT, is it mass services software?
So this is really what Agile took hold of, and what DevOps, and now what you'll see DevOps is doing even more of, and I'll talk about the difference between the two in a moment. But yes, so when you hear about just-in-time manufacturing or Toyota Production System or Lean, in the manufacturing world, you hear a mantra about single piece flow, right? Okay. What this whole movement now is about in software development through deployment is about how small, what does single piece look like? What does single piece really look like if I'm here to program and deploy software? Is there such a thing? And in many organizations, in many types of software environments, the answer is yes, we can find very, very, very small, meaningful batches. Yes?
Well, I was just going to answer your question. Think of your product as a whole, are there components that you could release separately? Are there bits, do you have to release the full thing, or can you release just a patch?
Exactly.
Have you componentized enough to be able to release on demand?
Exactly. Exactly.
And just that simple.
Yep. And I think that one of the distinctions I think we're all starting to come to is the difference between like a whole new product, right? Still might need to be thought about in almost a waterfall kind of way, maybe not. But definitely in environments like Amazon or things that you're doing online, and I imagine that you guys do a lot of online selling, right? Okay. The school that is doing online courses, right? When you're constantly doing things online, you don't need to do a major, massive new release, but how often are you deploying the updates? How often are you deploying the new features? How frequently can you do that? I think the last we heard, what was it? Amazon is doing, is it Amazon or eBay? Amazon is like in the tens of thousands of releases per day or per week or something like that. It's unbelievable, right? Now, if you're Northrop Grumman and you have a bunch of big equipment in the field and you've got to go through some updates with that, it might be a little bit harder to do something like that. However, you can take the software development and get it fully tested and ready to go, and take the concept of batching and how small can we make, what is the smallest meaningful batch that we could do so that we can shorten the entire amount of time it takes from the time we first think that we need to have a new upgrade or a new feature in there until the time it's able to be deployed. And this is exactly the kind of thinking that's going on. So yeah, I think we can trace the roots of Agile and DevOps back to lean production, which actually dates back to Ford. So what Agile started to do, the thing that Agile brought to us in the world of IT is challenging the batches in this way. They said, all right, first let's start with design, and then they started moving into testing. And they said, instead of this whole big long waterfall, let's develop and deploy every 2 weeks, right? Let's do these sprints, okay? We start something, 2 weeks later, we're done. Now, the thing that many organizations run into with the initial version of Agile is this ends up being a very arbitrary cutting of time. So we're still doing batching, although it's a much, much better, smoother flowing, faster, more agile environment. And I think it's a great step in the process. But the 2-week scrum is still a batch. Okay? And the thing that gets instead of lengthening, right? Instead of saying, okay, we need more time to get the rest of the scope done to complete this sprint, we end up sacrificing scope and moving scope into the next one and the next one and the next one. So there's some undesirable effects that come along with Agile, but the benefits have outweighed that in terms of the overall speed with which IT organizations have been able to get things done and begin to eliminate the barriers that have forced the big batch handover from one department to another. So the question is, how do we get, right? So here's what's happened with the smaller batches. And with DevOps, what they're looking for, what we're all looking for, is really to have a continuous flow. Let me ask you a question. If we still, I mean, ultimately, even when we're just doing one small feature upgrade, it still needs to start with requirements and end up in deployment and somehow being cared for, right? So these steps are still all there, yes? Yes? We just want to shorten the amount of time that it takes overall to go from start to finish. When's the organization actually performing better relative to its goal? the whole organization.
The full cycle shortened, but it's at the customer faster than before.
Yep, that's when the IT organization is performing better relative to its purpose for being part of the larger whole. Yes, so yes, we can say we've really delivered when we really hit our goal when the customer is actually using it. If our RT organization is part of a larger organization as a whole, that's even a more interesting question, right? That starts to get to additional subjects that I just want to tweak you a little bit, give you some food for thought that gets us thinking about. So how do we really know that what we're building, right? That this design is actually going to bring value to the whole. Most IT organizations that I come face to face with have so much work piled on that one process that needs to be put in place is let's really identify the things to do that will bring value to the whole. So that we can say once we delivered, the customers really are getting benefit. The organization that we're part of is really getting benefit from it. So now, how we doing? We're doing okay for time, actually. Any questions so far? Yes.
I was thinking also, you were asking the question, how do you know what were some of the changes that had happened? The one thought is very much a sequential flow with dependencies and predecessors is like the waterfall. Then the idea of what used to be done in sequence now is actually done in parallel.
Yes.
So, like we have the CPUs now have parallel processing. I mean, I think that concept comes into play when you take a large feature and you break it up into parts and you divvy out those parts and you have different teams. And so that's like going on in parallel, if at all possible. When there's not the codependencies, so that can just go on through. So we kind of have a parallel project going on that used to be thought of as a sequential project.
Yes. And it's interesting because the things still happen in sequence, right? I can't test something until the code's actually there for me to test, right? But it's happening so much faster because you're coding something that I'm testing maybe a day later instead of 3 months later because now I have the thousands and thousands and thousands of lines that I have to worry about. Yes?
And what we're doing right now is testers are writing tests during the requirements phase, coders code the test.
Excellent. Excellent. Nice. I think you're going to enjoy Yoav, actually. And he's coming from the test side of the house.